Hi, thanks for joining this podcast. This week, we're going to talk about 3 steps an LDA can take to prepare for the first consultation. Being prepared before, during, and after the initial consultation will determine how successful you can be in converting leads into customers. Here are 3 steps an LDA can take to prepare for success. First, LDAs should ensure that customers know how to reach them to get a consultation. Second, the LDA can send a client an intake form to fill out prior to meeting with them. Third, the LDA can provide the client with the written proposal of the proposed services and fees. Being prepared at each first consultation will lay out the foundation that can help LDAs turn leads into clients. Let's discuss the first step. LDAs should ensure customers know how to reach them. An LDA never knows how a client is going to first learn about the LDA services or how they'll contact the LDA. So the LDA should make sure that their business information is always up to date. If the LDA hands out business cards, brochures, or flyers, make sure the information printed on the handouts contain accurate information. When an LDA is first starting out, it's best practice to just print a small quantity of business cards or flyers or brochures. That way, if any contact information changes, such as the phone number or the LDA's business address, the LDA can just order more without being stuck with many old cards that they might not be able to use. Same goes for any online presence with business information that the LDA may have. The LDA should make sure their social media platforms and any websites indicate the best way for customers to reach the LDA's business. The most important part of your online presence and business is your contact information. So it needs to be accurate in order for people to be able to reach you. Check out podcast number 8, where we go over the best way to take advantage of setting up your business information on all available free online platforms to make the most of the free marketing available. Next, let's talk about when clients do reach out and the LDA has the initial consultation. As you may be aware, in the first conversation between the LDA and the potential client, according to the Business and Professions Code rules, when the LDA first begins talking to a self-represented litigant, the LDA must disclose that they are not an attorney, they are not a law firm, they can't represent the clients in court, and that they are not allowed to give legal advice. There are other advisals, but those are just a few. But once the client is informed with those advisals and disclosures, the LDA can move on to the next step, the initial consultation itself. During this stage, the LDA needs to gather initial information in order to provide the customer with a personalized quote for the proposed scope of services and fees. Let's talk about the intake process specifically. The LDA doesn't want to spend the majority of the consultation with the client gathering basic information, such as name, phone number, address. A good practice would be for the LDA to send the client the intake form ahead of time so that the customer can fill it out. And then once the customer is in front of the LDA, they can confirm the information listed on the intake, and the LDA can ask more clarifying questions. At the consultation, you want to use this time for the LDA and the potential client to discuss the client's information and project needs, and that's to make the best use of the allotted time. The LDA intake should include the questions that will allow the LDA to obtain information that the LDA will need to do a good job. What questions the LDA will ask will be dependent on the industry that the LDA provides the services in. Questions the LDA may ask for family law may differ from questions the LDA may ask relating to evictions. So for example, I do form preparation for family law matters. My questionnaire contains the following questions. What is the petitioner's name? Are there minor children born to the marriage? What county do the parties reside in? Do the parties have an existing case? Also, my intake questionnaire asks questions that are open-ended. Questions such as, is there any other information that I need to know in your case Asking open-ended questions will get the customer to start sharing more information instead of just providing yes and no answers. When clients answer these questions, the LDA will be better prepared to discuss the scope of work that's needed and what the full cost of the service will be quoted to the self-represented litigant. On that note, let's move on and talk about the LDA quotes, fees, and pricing. Just as it is important for the LDA to tell the customer what they are going to do for them, it's important for the LDA to tell the customer what the total cost will be for those services. So let's talk about the third point. The LDA needs to be prepared to give a quick quote. Prior to the first consultation, an LDA should consider whether or not the LDA will charge for the initial consultation. If the LDA decides to charge a consultation fee, the LDA can always apply the fee paid towards any of the contracted services. Obviously, I'm not here to tell you how to run your business. I'm just giving you an example of how certain LDAs deal with the consultation fee issue. Charging for consultations will help separate those customers from those that are just shopping around. On the other hand, if an LDA decides not to charge for initial consultation, the LDA should make sure that the LDA enforces a time limit. It just makes business sense. Moving on to the subject of quoting, on the day of the client consultation, the customer should provide the LDA with enough information so that the LDA can understand what the LDA is being asked to prepare in terms of forms. Line items that might affect the quoted price can include how many forms the LDA is going to have to fill out, whether the LDA needs to also do the court filings at the courthouse, whether the LDA will be responsible for coordinating the service of any filed documents. Those are just a sample of different line items that might affect the pricing on a quote. Speaking of pricing, in addition to quoting the scope of the project and expenses, the LDA should explain how the LDA collects their fees and explain any fee structure that the LDA uses. Some LDAs choose to charge hourly rates and some choose flat rate. Also, the LDA should have a price list handy that the LDA can quote from in order to ensure consistency and accuracy in quoting and charging fees. I discussed how to set your pricing in podcast episode 4, so go ahead and check that out. Being prepared is necessary to come across as a professional and help more self-represented litigants get access to justice. And the LDA never knows. The client may decide to hire the LDA on the spot. Hooray! So the LDA should make sure to allot some time between the current consultation and the next scheduled appointment on that same day in case the LDA's lead wants to sign a notice to consumer and the LDA contract for form preparation. Remember, if you fail to prepare, then you prepare to fail. So hopefully this information was helpful to you. And if you know someone who can benefit from the information on this podcast, feel free to share it and also tell them why you're sharing it with them. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe. In future episodes, I'll share what the LDA can expect at the contract signing appointment. Thanks for listening.